Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. What is it? 8 o'clock Central here in Florida, where I am. It's the 6th of September, 2021, and I'm going to get started here. I just want to go over a couple plans, and the reason why is just to kind of throw, plans out there, show you, how I go about looking at my charts and so forth. But also, there's a little bit of lack of due diligence out there. I see a lot of charts that are kind of thrown out there by highly followed people, but there's really no plan behind it. And I can tell you when I first started, I would take a chart like that and just say, okay, it looks like I'm supposed to just take this chart, go long. I didn't understand my risk management. I didn't understand, supply and demand. I didn't realize that there were points on the chart that could turn price so quickly and so forth. So all of those things I think are very, very important. So I just picked a couple trades here that I want to go through with you guys. And what I'm going to do is show you the monthly, and then we're going to go ahead and look at the weekly and most likely the 4 hour or daily. Okay, so first one up for me is going to be Starbucks, and just to be make sure I have the right ones on here. Yeah, Amazon, Netflix, Myrna, and I'm going to give you this Starbucks here really quick, okay? So for tonight, I thought I put that down on the tweet, but no, I did not. But that's okay. So the monthly chart, let's talk about candle formations, talk about the EMA cloud, let's talk about the overall trend. So the monthly is on a neutral trend, the yearly extremely bullish. We have a mix there. All right, so what this is telling me for this month, we could see a little bit of sideways action, but the overall trend is up. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take that into consideration. Next thing I want you to notice is that this candle here, by trendy definition, this is an inside candle. It closed within this previous monthly candle, and then it's followed by an inside and down. One note to take here as well is that we are making higher lows regardless, okay, and you can see that here. Now, it is only September the 6th, and we have several days until the end of the month, so this candle has a right to do what it wants to. It can pick up and make an inside and up, or it could end up going inside and down. Now, the way that I want to play off of this from a monthly perspective is if price can start to get above this previous inside, so just right above the space around 117.52 or so, let's say 117.60. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these lines and place 117.60 there. And that's just going to let me know, once we reach that point, we're starting to go inside. Okay, and that's a bullish thing. We already know we have the higher low, but if we can get inside, then we can continue to push to the upside. All right, let's go ahead and get this out of the way, and then you're going to see the chart, your weekly here on the left, and then on the right hand side we have the 4 hour there. Okay, so the weekly, I mean, as soon as I look at this, I get super excited. So, you guys know if you've been trading for a long time, you have your certain setup, you have something that looks near and dear to you, and you feel like, hey, this is the conviction trade. Well, when I see something like this, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks down, and then an inside candle followed by an inside and up, I also want to check where did price come into before it decided to turn up, because I need to know, right? In order to be a good trader, I need to know where do I want to go long, where do I want to go short. And I want to make sure that when price starts to turn around that it actually came into an area of what we call support or demand. So I always need to take my eyes and look left of these wicks right over here. And you could see price basically came down to the origin of this move or to inception of this rally, see? And so we know that there is support here. Price ran out of buyers. It took its time. It came back to find those buyers. Just like if you and I were to go out, to a store and we're looking for a favorite pair of shoes and we can't find them, we're going to go back to the store where we remember they were, right? Or in this circumstance, we went to a store to get our favorite shoes, but with inflation and everything, they're just too darn expensive. So I'm going to go back to the place that I used to go where I could get those sneakers for a little bit less. Okay. That's what price is doing here. So it comes right back into this origin of the move. And then you could see that buyers are starting to step in. So just like the monthly, the weekly is showing us some higher lows, and we're actually making higher highs within a downtrend. So what I mean by that, this is a downtrend, but we are now working our way up within the downtrend. Okay. Next thing to note on the weekly, it's above the 9 EMA cloud. I use the 9 EMA. Other people may use the 8, the 10, whatever. I'm using a 9 here, but it's above the cloud, and that's a bonus. Inside and up, above the cloud, that's a bonus. So I like this already. So from a monthly perspective, I know that I want to get above that level that we talked about previously. And then from a weekly perspective, okay, just trading maybe into the second week of September. So maybe not these expirations for this week since we have a short week, but maybe over here towards the 17th of September. Okay, I'm liking this look a little bit better. Weekly, extremely bullish on my trend indicator up here, and also the yearly, again, extremely bullish. So I like Starbucks. Okay, now these were some targets that I gave to our members, and they worked so far, not bad. Okay, so what am I looking for here? I want price to get above here. If we have any trendy members that are watching right now live, guys, I'm looking for price to get over the decelerator for this weekly chart. So we need price to get back above that 117.35. Okay, price gets back above 117.35. We're going for that move up towards 120 and possibly even into 121.39. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at there. And you could see that the target right here. That's what this is, by the way. If you're new to my charts, this target, that's what I'm looking for in Starbucks. Okay. All right. So pretty straightforward. Now, what about stops? Right. Very important. So I do trade with stops. Some traders don't, and that's okay. We get more into that when we talk about risk and allocation and so forth. If you're okay with your total allocation in an option and you're okay with it to go to zero, then that's up to the trader. For me, depending on size and allocation, I'm kind of convicted on this trade, so I'd be a little bit larger, and because of that, I want to be putting a stop in. Now, I can use the 4 hour over here to give me a good idea where support comes into. And remember what I told you, you have to know where you want to be a buyer and where you want to be a seller. And a lot of traders, they miss this, right? Even veteran traders, I see it all the time. So a lot of you are going to be able to relate to this. You end up letting go of your long positions just to see them turn around and push up. That's the market, right? And if you cannot and you will not find that level that you should be looking at, you're going to unfortunately suffer from that kind of loss until you do find out. But lucky you're here, so I'm going to show you a couple things. Okay, so on a 4 hour, I want to be looking for the same thing I showed you on the monthly. I want to be looking for that support. And if you notice, we got ourselves a big chaotic candle here. Okay, that lets me know on a smaller time frame, a 4 hour, that we have a lot of support right in here. Okay, we also, just like the monthly, have the origin of the move right in here. Okay, so both these areas, I would expect buyers to come in and pick up price. So in the event the market pulls back, okay, so on a trade plan like this, I like it. Doesn't mean right when the market opens, I'm going to take the trade. Okay, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to wait for my levels. It has been proven over and over in this market that trying to buy the breakout is very difficult. And you know what I'm talking about. A lot of traders are in this market going, hey, we're at all-time highs and I'm not doing good on the year. I'm hearing that across the board. It's easier to buy these trades on the pullback and then ride that bullish momentum. Okay. So over here, this is where I'm interested in entries. So I want to figure that out. I'm going to throw some fibs on here really quick, right up towards the pivot low into the pivot high. I want to look at my 23 and 38 and just kind of find out what's price done about around those. And you can see prices already come into the 38.2. For me, I'm going to create a box right around this 38.2 and all the way down to the 618. Okay, and then in here, I'm going to call this support or entry, right? So both of those for a uh, long trade, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, for price to come into here. Now, a lot of times, see, if I were just to throw this out and say, hey, this is my chart, and come back like a week later when it hits 120, 125, I can say, hey, look at me, right? I don't think that's the greatest way to try and help traders out. I get it. Some people fall into a rut like that, but there are so many different things that can happen during trading that I think it's unfair that anybody would take advantage of newer traders because this box is wide. And you all know if you're trading pretty big and you get stopped out in here, you could lose a lot of money. Now, for me, this is like my little thing. I like to wait for price to come into my levels of support, and then I like to see we reclaim those levels. Okay, that's a really big one for me because on the way down, a lot of times what will happen if you try to buy something blind, just because we have some support here, there could be a catalyst in the market that's going to move price with an acceleration that you're not used to. And when that does happen, those buy areas or those buy zones or those support levels, they get taken out very quickly. Okay? So understand that. There will come a time. So in this bullish market, you could just step into a 4 hour, look for that support, and you buy the dip every single morning, and it pretty much works out for you. But there will come a time that it doesn't. All right, so the reclaim is really important because if the acceleration continues to break this box, that's okay. I'm not taking it blindly. I have a process. I want to wait for reclaims, and then I want to look at my risk to reward from there. Okay, but for this specific plan for Starbucks, I'm going to keep this right in here. I'm going to go ahead and put support. Okay, and just as a reminder, it's support entry, but I want to see a pullback and reclaim, right? And these are just like notes to yourself um, that will remind you. And other things you could do is create an alert at or below, okay? And what that's going to do is once price moves into there, it's going to let me know that price is there so I can come back to that chart, okay? And any questions about this, you could see, we're above the cloud on the weekly, looks good. On the monthly, it doesn't look as good. On the 4 hour, we're in the cloud. So basically what this means, to go back to the start, is that price is going to be a little volatile while it finds its footing within this chaotic candle here. Okay. All right, and now what about strike price? So again, if I'm looking out 2 weeks here, let's just go ahead and assume that we are going to hit up here towards this target. Well, because of that, there's a couple things that always you want to take into consideration when you're looking at options, okay? Sure, you can look at volume and open interest and so forth, but you also want to pay attention to the ATR. So Starbucks is moving $4. Let's just say four. It says 460 here. Well, actually, let's round up to five. All right. Let's say that Starbucks can move $5 a week. All right. And that's going to put you at 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So 122. And my target is basically, if you look up here, this pink line is right around 122. So I would need a perfect week or some sort of catalyst to push price right into that level. Right. And so because of that, we know that the market's not perfect. The next thing that we know is that starting tomorrow, we only have a 4 day week, right? So it's shortened. So we would really need something big for Starbucks to work and get to 122 under 4 days. Okay, so 2 weeks I really like, and again, it needs to hold the support entry area here and reclaim. My risk, meaning where my stop would be on this specific uh, position, if I take it on a reclaim, then I'm probably only risking a dollar fifty, and that's it. Okay. So how do you figure that out? Well, on a Delta 30 option, okay, for intraday purposes only, take the 30, delta 30, multiply it by your risk, and that's going to give you, and I do plus or minus $5, so plus $5 in this occurrence is how much I could lose during the intraday per contract. Okay, so example, let's say $2 stop, 30 delta, right? That's going to be $60 a contract, plus or minus about 65 bucks. Does that make sense? So because of that, all right, I already know what my stop, what my risk is, and I'm telling you right now, I did what do they call them, like a tweet bomb or something over the weekend. I gave you guys some insight. You have to accept your loss, folks. If you can't accept your loss, then you shouldn't be trading, because the fact of the matter is you're going to lose, and you're going to lose again and again and again. It's a matter of how you treat those losses. Do you have stops in? Are you okay with the full allocation, right? Once you say out loud, hey, I'm okay to take Starbucks with 5 contracts, okay? $60 per, $300 loss. Am I okay with 300 bucks? Am I really okay with $300 loss? How many other positions do I have on? What if all those positions start to go against me? That's 300 times 10. Then I'm down $3,000. Am I okay with that? And if you're not, guess what? Lighten the load a little bit, right? Instead of doing that many contracts, maybe you only just take a couple. All right, so there's all kinds of different ways to approach this, but what I'm telling you is, as long as you have a stop in place and you understand how to calculate that, it does make the trade that much better. Now, again, holding positions overnight, you always run the risk of losing all your money. Okay, that's very rare. It's very rare in this market. Okay, that you're going to be in something and the next day market's gone down so much that your options are completely zero. Unless you're doing like a zero DTE trade or something like that, right? So, all right. So, the biggest thing here, just understand your stops, and then you know where you want to get out, right? Or you know where you want to trim. That's why I put targets in place, folks. So each one of these levels to the upside are targets. So if I take it down here at 116.66, then I'll be trimming out probably at 118.39 on that double top. And then as we push, last pieces on your options for me would be getting out around that 120.78, these buttons over here to the side, and then 121.92. So those are all my targets for this trade. Now this is how I approach every single trade. Okay, monthly, weekly, and then look at the daily and the 4H. Okay, the 4 hour. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next one here, which is going to be Netflix. Okay. I hope you guys had a great Labor Day weekend. We did, and I kind of joked around in the room earlier. I had a great time, so I took the jet ski out, and I took my big dog. I have 2 dogs. They're both big, but he is about 120 plus pounds, and I put him on the jet ski with me, and what a wonderful time, man. That guy, he's never been on. He's had his life jacket on. He just was so happy, and I just had an amazing time out there, and it was really cool. I got some footage of it, so all those great memories. All right, so here we are with Netflix. Check this out. All right, so this is Netflix. Let's bring up that monthly chart real quick. I'm gonna come over here, and there's the monthly. All right, so this monthly looks pretty good. I mean, you look across here, there's a lot of things you're going to notice that we came up, we have this rounding bottom. Okay, notice that also how important this cloud is. I get a lot of traders that are like, I'm really into the swing, John. Like, I got a job, I have to work, I don't have time to look at alerts, or I just don't have time to trade. And honestly, if you just take a little bit of time to yourself and look at a monthly chart and you want to be a swing trader, put some EMA clouds on here, learn a process, and try not to look, right? Whatever you commit to. If you're committing to a monthly chart, then you really should not be checking on this unless your stop signals you. See these alerts, guys? That lets me know that things are breaking down. Okay, so if you're in a very long position, these are areas that I would expect to hold, but if they went off, then I would come to the chart and figure out what's going on. So again, for a swing chart, there's a lot of important things that you can see here, and I just want to point them out to you. And I also want you to look at these type of things when we are on a monthly chart. Okay. So first thing, I have my banners. So these are mine, and they look back at certain percentages of ranges and so forth. And this is how I determine trend here at Trendy Trading. Okay, point blank. As long as these are green, I'm happy. Okay, especially on a long swing, the monthly and the yearly are green. All right. Then I want to be looking at my signals. Okay, so all these are my scripts. They're pretty complex behind the coding, and so they have bias signals within the cloud, which is really cool. So it's not just a visual; it's actually letting me know when I should be buying stock and so forth. Okay, so are they working out? And that's the thing you want to do when you get your own set of indicators and stuff like that. You want to go back, you want to back test things, and you could see every time the green arrow lights up, you know, is price coming back to take out that green arrow, right? And no, you could see that. Really, the easiest way to do this is just draw a line underneath that green arrow. You don't see price coming under there. You don't see price coming under there. Same thing here, but right here, maybe you get stopped out. Okay, now this is way back in the day, but I love doing this. You want to go all the way back to the inception of the market. Then notice the cloud. Netflix absolutely loves the cloud. There has not been once, folks. Look at this. Okay, since way back here, 2012. All right, it's been a very long time. It loves the cloud. In most cases, it comes back and touches the 9 EMA on the monthly, and it's a time to buy. Okay, or if price comes back down here, this is my 22, comes into there, time to buy. All right, and again, does not break out underneath that cloud. Well, here we are, right? You could see that we consolidated in this area for quite some time. This was the time to be selling iron condors and call credit spreads and so forth. But now it's all about the breakout, right? But let me tell you something. If you think I am the only one and anybody else that's pulling up Netflix, you think you're the only one that's looking at Netflix right now, you're wrong. All right, there's like millions of traders probably going to do the same exact thing. And so that would be my biggest word of caution is anytime there's a breakout trade and it's like right in your face, for me, it's a big warning flag. So you have to have a plan. And this is what my plan looks like. And this is what I told my team for Netflix. Netflix has a very crazy personality, especially when you think it's about time that it gets going. It's got a lot of wicks in it. All right, so if you think I'm not telling the truth, I want you to look at these guys. Do you know what this means? Right, this is called topping wicks or selling pressure, and behind every one of these wicks, somebody has lost their dreams. Okay, maybe even their bank accounts, maybe even their spouse, okay, maybe even their house. This baby has topping wicks all over it. So you got to be careful and you have to have a plan. My plan for Netflix, because of its behavior pattern, for me, I like out of the money calls. Okay, and when I say out of the money, I typically don't like to go too far out of the money, but with Netflix, I like time and I like out of the money. All right, so I do think that if we can hold above the all-time highs for at least a week or so, I think we could see 100 points pretty quickly. All right, now with all that craziness that I just said about their behavior, it's Murphy's Law, isn't it? This is trading, folks, and usually when you speak it into existence, a little bit different, you speak it into existence with trading, it tends to be the opposite, right? So here I am talking about how Netflix, would probably pull back and it has topping wicks, and then before you know it, everybody's watched this video and they're like, man, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of it, right? And then, you get something like this and you're like, oh my goodness, I missed out on that, right? So let's talk about a plan into Netflix, all right? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to show you the weekly, all right, and the 4 hour. So the weekly looks pretty much the same. It's a sideways consolidation. It's pushing up towards this wick. I do take into pre-market candles into consideration. Always have, always will. You can't talk me out of it. That's how I come up with a lot of my stuff. And so we're coming up here into this 593. We need to get above it. Notice for this week, I have a neutral strategy. I really like the 4 hour on this chart. The weekly and the monthly look the same. It's a consolidation, a possible breakout. But on the 4 hour, I want to examine this a little bit more with you. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. We're going to go to a 4 hour chart, just like this. And let's just kind of get used to what Netflix is doing on a 4 hour. Okay? So ever since it pushed out and we got this buy signal over the cloud, Netflix, for the most part, likes the cloud. Okay, and you can see that. Sorry, my nose is itching. And every time we come back here, boom. Okay, you guys see that? There is a repeatable process here and pattern. The easier place to buy Netflix is actually down here towards the cloud. Okay, so if for some reason the market gaps down tomorrow, I'm looking for an entry around that cloud. Okay. Now, I said out of the money with time. Out of the money with time. If this comes back to the cloud once again and reclaims, I'm actually going to go for a 4-day trade. So 1 to 3 days, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. If it breaks out and it gets to 600 tomorrow and I bought it at the cloud, I'm selling. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to hold on. I'm not marrying a trade. I'm just trying to make some money. All right. So if it comes down into this cloud or into this EMA, that's where I'll be looking for entries. And then as we approach and get above 59 or 593.5, then I'm looking for, these wicks over here. Take out that wick, then I feel even more convicted that we're going to head up towards my targets of 610 by 624. Okay. Other things that I like here are called debit spreads. Very simple process. Okay, I'm just going to give you a hypothetical here. Basically, what I do is if this is my target here, I could buy the 605. Okay, so just kind of show you really quick. I'd buy the 605. All right, and I would sell, let's say, the 615. All right, so basically, I'm cutting right before my target and I'm getting right in the middle of it. So I'm going to sell a 615. All right. And a lot of traders make this a lot more difficult than it needs to be. Basically, I'm buying a 605 call, and just for educational purposes, I'm going to say this. Let's say that I paid $2 for this, okay? And I sell this one to somebody out there, all right? Let's just say this is +1 and, -1, all right? So I'm selling this to somebody out there for $1. I pay the difference of the two, guys. So the total price for me is going to be $1. That's all I'm going to pay for this strike, but the return I typically look for is a 4x or more. Okay, and I love these because what happens is that I'm reducing my cost by selling against it. Okay, just a little quick idea there. So I like the debit spreads again about 605 to 615 if I don't want to pay for the naked directional. All right. All right, so the next one that I'm going to look at here is going to be, let's see, we did Netflix and Starbucks. Let's go ahead and go over here to Amazon. And see what we can get. So let's go to the monthly first of all, just like we did with the other two charts. All right, so this has that look, right? The FANG stocks kind of have that same look, consolidation, whatever, rounding up, topping wicks up here to kind of show you, hey, this is what happened around earnings, okay? What I'll tell you is that we're hanging above the 9 EMA, all right? Same thing, just like Netflix. Guys, you're probably sitting here thinking like, why don't I just use the monthly chart? Right? I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, you should just be using the monthly chart if you are investing in something that you really like, right? And you're trying to swing trade. All right. If you say you're a swing trader and you tell me that your favorite stock that you just took a swing trade on, that the 5 minute chart is, going underneath the cloud, then, there's problems. Okay, I'm just going to say that. This monthly chart, just like Netflix, pretty much tells you that the 9 EMA cloud for a visual, folks, is just that's all you need to stay in this trade, right? As long as price is closing above this cloud, things look pretty good, and they still are bullish. Matter of fact, the trendy banners, which we rely on, are extremely bullish for this chart. Okay, consolidation again. Let's just go ahead and show you right in here. Okay, price is still in there. I personally like for Amazon, I like selling call credit spreads against this, because if the market's kind of toppy, or maybe we just need to come in a little bit, if these premiums are juiced on a 4-day week, and this is already showing you that every time it comes up here, it basically goes right back down into this little hole or into this channel. I like the idea of selling call credit spreads up here. All right, but I get it. A lot of people are like, well, I just want to go for it. Well, let's talk about if you just want to go for it really quick and see what that looks like. All right, so we're going to come down here to weekly. All right, now this is the blueprint that I gave our room here 2 weeks ago, and has worked very, very well. This was actually the entry at 3188, and you can see that prices moved all the way up into my my third target, and then just kind of stalled. Okay, so the blueprint worked very well. All right, let's go ahead, and we are going to actually, yeah, I'm going to clear it just really quick. Let's clear the drawing set. We already know it worked well. All right, so a couple things here. We're above some trendy edges, and we teach about that in the room. That's a bullish thing, and we are getting close to what we call the decelerator. Now, we called it the decelerator because when price comes up, it ends up decelerating. Okay, so you could see that. So 3485 is a trigger here. Can we get above that? Let's go ahead and identify that. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to actually make this green, and I'm going to say trigger long, and let's go to the right, just like that. All right, and folks, for you trendy members, you guys know this is a AC/DC that's going to be here. Oh, and I take that back. It's not. All right, never mind. It's not going to be that AC/DC, but that's okay. All right, so this is a big selling pressure candle. This is also a double inside and down on the weekly. Double inside and down. What does that mean to the trader that doesn't pay attention to that? It means it came into resistance, folks. All right, and if I take this wick right here and show you that, you can see it came into resistance. If I take the body of that inside and down, it got really close. Okay, so this is your risk to reward on a weekly trade. If it can get above 34.85, I'm looking for 35.31. All right, now let's go ahead and pop some fibs on this structure. As a matter of fact, I'm going to use the pivot here into this pivot low. Notice now that we hit the 618. What's the 618, John? The 618 is the golden Fibonacci level. All it means is basically where I measured from that pivot high to pivot low is that if price can get above the 618, you have broken that down range that I measured. Okay? All right, and we have probabilities and so forth that we talk about in the room that are kind of, our secret sauce. So basically, if it breaks over 618, then we have a high probability chance that it's going to hit the other fib level. And so these are really nice trades to trade off of. But if you want to just trade into our next levels of targets, we're actually going to use the fibs. Okay, so again, trigger long 34.85. We could see 35.31, 35.07. But what I really want to see is that 35.86 on Amazon. Okay, so where is that? That gives me about almost another 100 points to the upside. All right. Now, what about the downside? Once again, this is very important that we take a look over here at the 4-hour, because the 4-hour is what I'm going to use for an entry, because I already know that the weekly is bullish and the monthly is just kind of sideways. Okay, so this is for the traders that want to take that shot to the upside, right? As far as support is concerned, you can see here I have a trendy indicator letting me know that we have, this area that is a buy level. But guess what? Price has already come into that level. Okay, that's what this was. It came right into here. So if I were to draw a box right around this level, guess what? Price has come into there, so it's already been tested. Very important if price turns back and moves down towards this pink line. Very important we make a higher low. If we don't, I'm hands off. Like I'm just sitting here and I'm waiting. Matter of fact, I would most likely be waiting towards the bottom of this chaotic candle here at or around 34.14. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw some lines on here. It's going to be right under here. Just like our last one, I'm going to create a box there. All right, just like that. And this is where I'd like to see support. All right, so if we can't see support or reclaims here, I'm not buying. Matter of fact, I'm going to wait for the next green arrow. Guys, if you haven't caught on, basically the green arrows are where I'm looking at buying within a pullback. Okay, pretty straightforward. But my first one, this is what I'm interested in, but please understand that this was tested once, so that means it's a little bit weaker. So if we were to make a lower low in there, I'm just not interested. Okay, pretty straightforward. All right, so trigger long, we have this as well. So what does that mean? Okay, well, if we wake up in the morning and price does not get over this, that means I got two options here. I have to wait until we come into this box, or if it doesn't come into the box and let's say that it turns around right before the box, I'm still patient. That's just how I am, because a lot of times what will happen is we make a lower high and then we just come back and test it just like I was expecting, right? So it's all about patience. And so I'm going to be waiting for this box, or I'm waiting to see if price can get above this level. All right, so very important here on Amazon. What if we gap up over these triggers? Okay, well, that's why I have what's called the trendy edges, and I'm not taking the trade long if we gap over this green unless we are clearing 35.05 and a half. Okay, pretty straightforward. 35.05 and a half. All right, now what about options? This thing can move about $169 to the upside. 169 bucks, that's a lot. I would probably say with the market the way it is right now, with a 4-day week, you might just see a little bit of chop. So I'd kind of cut that thing probably down in half, just in case. All right, instead of getting your hopes up too big. For me, again, 35.83 would be really cool. So for options for me, because we only have 4 days, and if I were going to take the trade based on a weekly setup, I like butterflies here. All right, butterflies, low cost, huge return. So I'm going to pick my targets, but buy a butterfly that captures them. Okay, butterfly really fast. What that looks like, I'm not going to go into all the different details, but basically what you're doing, and let's just say that we're going to get around this 35.80. Okay, what I can do is buy the 35.60. Okay, these are hypotheticals. I would need to see what the price of these are and if the risk to reward is there. Buy the 35.60, okay, and then I would sell probably a 35.85, okay. Looks like this. All right, and then that's $25 spread. So on the other end, what you end up doing is you buy $25 over that. Okay, so that would be what, 36.15, I believe. So basically, I love doing this. This is your butterfly, guys, right here. Okay, these are the wings. That's why it's called a butterfly. These green ones, and then the red is the body. All right, very low risk, high return. What about directional? Well, directional in this case, because we only have 4 days, I don't want to buy a 35.80. It's just too far out of the money. So I would probably be looking at the 35.31. All right, but what if we pull back all the way into here and I don't get long until the pullback? See, those are two different things you got to be thinking about, because if I were to pull back, okay, if I were to pull back into my support levels and I say, okay, well, we're at a trendy edge, I'm going long here, well, that 35.80 is that much further away. So it just really doesn't make sense, right? And even this guy is far away. So I really want to take about 50% from the pivot high to where I'm buying. So just right down the middle, and I'd be looking at those strikes. Okay, so like 34.35, 34.40. That kind of gives you an idea of how I would set that up. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and check out Myrna. I did really well on Myrna on Friday as well. I didn't talk about that one on Twitter. Uh, I did close it way too early. I paid a buck something for it, and they went to 7, I think. And yours truly, I sold at 2. But to be fair, I was out um, at lunch with my wife, and my alert went off, and it was towards the end of the day, and I told everybody I'm not selling. I think we had an hour left in the market or something. I said I'm gonna check back, and I think I said an hour, and then I looked down at my watch, and I'm like, it's already been. I didn't realize how late it was in the day, and I said I can't give it an hour. And just like any other trader, I looked. I'm like, oh wow, it's up 100%. I'm gonna go ahead and knock this off, just because we're getting towards the end of the day. And it it really ran, all the way, like I said, up to 6 or 7. We had the 410 calls, and I think we bought them on Monday or Tuesday or something like that. So those did really well. But what about going into tomorrow? These are probably one of my two favorite names, Myrna and PFE, and I've been trading them very, very well for the last month or so. One of our traders in our room, he turned me on to Myrna. I did really well in it. He had an awesome call, and it's kind of like this Friday where just trying to buy out the money, and then all of a sudden you're way in the money, and it's like, wow, okay. Um, well, I still stand behind this. I feel like Myrna can head towards 1,000. Not this week or anything like that. And I still think PFE is $100 stock. That's just me. Okay. I think there's a long way. These guys are making so much money, right? But outside of that, I think technicals are very, very important. And what I'm seeing here, guys, what I'm witnessing here is that off of this huge rally off the trendy edge, by the way, this is where we get long on our swings on these blue lines. Um, you could see here that we had that topping wick. So there's a lot of selling pressure. The way I look at it, there's a lot of selling pressure all the way from this wick. Okay, and notice when price came up to here one time, 2 times, and now the third time, right? Maybe the third time is the charm that we need to break up. And what happens is once this price goes above this resistance, we are now forming a triple inside, and well, actually it's going, I apologize, quadruple inside and up. Okay, if price can get over that, basically what I'm saying is it's been consolidating in a very bullish channel since it pushed up, and there was no reason to get bearish here. Okay, now with this one, I've already put together my support and buy zone. It's around 410 by 406. That's kind of tight considering how much this moves. PFE and Myrna, they have this tendency to want to mess around in the mornings. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. I'm not sure what their issue is, but they just kind of mess around. And I keep telling traders, I'm like, you just give it till the end of the day, and then all of a sudden it starts coming right back. Resistance for as far as right now, we could see up towards 421.91, 422. If we can get above this shelf, basically right in here, I do think we could break out towards 438 and 450 this week. Matter of fact, I'm gonna say that over 438 up until about 447. Okay, 438 into 447. But again, it needs to hold these levels, folks. But right before we end this session, I want to show you, if price were to pull back, I think it's important to understand how I approach things. Okay, so if this were to pull back into here and do something like this and not go bid, and it just keeps headed down towards here, this is my risk. Okay, this is all I want to risk is that red line there. I'm still not in the trade. Okay, say it pulls deep, keeps on coming down. And then I'm looking to the left. I'm like, well, I like this line here. There is a possibility that I can get into this trade. And that's where I want to end tonight, guys. And I really, I hope that somebody out there is listening. You cannot just go and make a career out of just following people on Twitter. You just can't. I don't think you can. It's not very reliable without a process. If you're not sure what they're actually doing, it's really easy to go out and put a chart on Twitter and come back and say, hey, look at what I did. I don't really find a lot of, you know, people being honest when they do stuff like that. So I encourage everybody out there to learn a process, like learn how to do this. Put these charts together, understand where your stops are, understand how to get a target, understand how to read the market. Reading the market is probably, if you can capture that, then I believe all this other stuff is pretty easy. But the biggest thing that we do at Trendy Trading is that I put together the broad market analysis, and we cover so many different things in order to understand and to get my traders ready for the week to come. There's many things that have to be hitting off. We're looking at the treasury, we're looking at the dollar, you're looking at the skew, um, at bonds. I mean, the list goes on and on. All right. And I capture all that during our broad market review. And that gives us more conviction and gives us a better understanding where the market can go. Okay. Very, very important. And I love the futures. And speaking of the futures, they're coming in a little bit right now, but that's what I kind of expect after a long weekend. We'll probably come inside and maybe we'll come back and test those levels. But once again, find your process. Please find a process, and then you can apply it to anything you want to out there. But if you're having a hard time finding a process, come check us out. I mean, for under $20 for a trial, you can't beat that. 7 days, you're going to see live brokerage alerts from my account that go straight into the room. I get on the mic in the mornings, I go over my plans, and every single one of my plans are like this. It's like, this is support, this is resistance, this is what I'm looking at. I do trade off the cuff sometimes. It happens. I might see something that I didn't go over, especially if a couple charts aren't working or they just really haven't come into play, then I'm going to find something else, right? So, anyways, I really appreciate you guys. If you watch this, give me a thumbs up if you like this type of stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our free blog that we have over at trendytrading.co. A lot of good stuff over there. And if you watch my last two blogs on PFE and SPY, you did really, really well. And then I threw out another one this week. So I really appreciate you guys and gals. And we'll see you tomorrow morning. I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.